Set up with Trevor Thompson.
Blash, just the atmosphere here the first couple of games. Some people refer to it as a playoff-like atmosphere and the intensity on the ice. What's your feel for it?
I think the atmosphere has been great, to be honest with you. I think both games were highly emotional, which I think is a positive. That's, we want to make sure we play with lots of compete, lots of emotion. Obviously, we've got to keep that in check, but I think it's the crowd's been awesome. It's a loud building. It's been a while since we've had that. So obviously it's hard to reflect back as long as it's been, but the building just seems really loud. When we first came in this building, we didn't have enough people in the seats. There was lots of people here, but they were either in the club level eating or checking out how beautiful the arena is. Now everybody's in the seats and it just seems really, really loud. So it's a great building, great atmosphere.
With that physicality and the emotion that you referred to, how have you seen that lift the level of your players' play?
I think playing at that highest level of compete and emotion every single night is not easy to repeat for 82 games, and most teams can't do it. And I think it can be a separator if we can do it on a night-to-night basis. And so it's something, we're looking for every way we can to separate ourselves from other teams, and this is one way. So it's definitely something that I think can help build your team up, both from a it kind of draws you together in those situations too, which I think is important from camaraderie standpoint.
I know it's a small sample size, but giving up nearly 45 shots a game right now, how big a concern is that for you guys, and what can you do to cut that down?
Oh, we've kept it under 50, so that's good. Is it a concern? I don't really look at shots per se as the factor in determining whether or not it was good or bad. Probably two factors that are more important, and shots are usually an indicator somewhat of this. One is chances, for sure, and so you can give up lots of shots and not give up lots of real chances. Like the chances that generally matter are the A chances, the ones that are the real chances. So that's one. And two is zone time, and zone time, kind of your average between your O zone versus your D zone. And certainly shots can be an indicator of that. Lots of times we spend too much time in your end, you're giving up more majority shots. And I think that's been the case a little bit. I think our zone time last game was 45%. We'd like to get that number over 50. So we're tilting the ice the other way and we're playing more in their end. So that's something we got to get better at. I think partially we've been a little sloppy with the puck once we get it on our stick. A little bit the way we play D zone, once we don't get an initial stall, we are going to bend but not break a little bit, and that's going to spend a little bit more time in your end and almost encourage outside shots at times. And then I'd also say the way we kill penalties, it's the same thing. It's a little bit bend but not break, and so you're going to give up a decent number of shots there too.
Max Boltman.
Jeff, is Mark Stahl available tonight?
Mark Stahl is available tonight as we speak today.
Okay, and then Troy Stetcher, has he been healthy, or is that?
Yep. Both Troy and Jordan O'Sully have been healthy, and as I talked about at the beginning of the year, that's not an indictment on their play whatsoever. I actually think both of them have been good in practice. I think Stetch was good through the preseason. Obviously, I have 6 guys that I'm playing ahead of them. But if I put either one of them in the game, I'd feel totally confident that they could go in and really help us win. They're both NHL defensemen. There's zero doubt about that. We're going to use our depth through the year, and I'm not, I'm going to get them in here at some point. We're only 3 games deep, and the schedule has been fairly easy in terms of home games and stuff like that. And we had some good mojo coming out of the last game, so I left it alone. But at some point, I'll get them in, and other guys will sit. And it's just kind of a rotation at that point.
I know you've talked before about how the public expected goals models are a little different from what you guys are working with, but from what I've seen, Lindstrom's graded out pretty well by the public ones. Is that checked out from your guys' internal ones?
To be honest with you, I haven't looked at the expected goals model for him per se. I've definitely looked at the chances that we grade. I would let it play out longer, in terms of, I just am very wary of stats when it's a small sample size. Literally one bad play could end up putting you in a tough expected goals model. So, or tough expected goals. So I would let most of those. We'll look at a lot of that after 10 games and give ourselves a little bit more, but certainly our own chances are something we look at. He had a couple mistakes the last game. Obviously the one turnover in the neutral zone and one on the penalty kill, that was a bit of his responsibility. But other than that, he's played good hockey. And again, to me, it's not a matter of any of our deep playing poorly. If I took anybody out right now, it wouldn't be because they played poorly, it'd just be because we've got to get other guys in. And but we'll work through that.
Thanks.
Yep.
Duff.
Jeff, Scotty Bowman used to talk about how you like to start the season on the road because it helped the new guys kind of bond with the team. What are the advantages of starting with this long homestand that you guys have?
Yeah, I some of the team Scotty coached, I think we're fine probably starting the road. They could bond and win a lot, that's just reality. I think when you go on the road, it's a little bit more difficult to win. I don't know the exact percentages in the league. If you have a great team, like I said, potentially can add to some bonding. I would also tell you that our trips are different than the Western Conference trips used to be. Our trips are a lot of times in and out real fast, and it feels like you're puddle jumping as opposed to a long trip out west where you get to do some cool things. They talked about playing paintball and stuff like that. We were just in Traverse City for a while. I think we had plenty of opportunity to bond, and I think our guys done a pretty good job of socializing when they can. They went to Lions game before the season even started and got a chance to be around each other's, not just as players, but significant others and children and stuff like that. So I think we've had plenty of chance to bond. The advantage, I think, to being home is, you have the home crowd behind you, you have last change, you have some advantages that put you in a little bit better position to potentially win hockey games. And so for me, I'm happy with the fact we're at home. The other advantage for us was, because of the way our training camp went, we really savored, I'd say, those first 3 days of practice. So we didn't start the season early and we started at home. And I thought both those things helped us.
Thanks.
Ed Colton.
Hey, Jeff, I know it's kind of basic, but how important is it just to get, it's kind of segueing out Bob's question, just to get off to a good start here? I mean, it seems like specifically the last couple of years when you guys got into a hole early on, I mean, it's just so tough to climb out of. I mean, how would it be just to get off to a pretty good start here this season?
Yeah, I think it's critically important, unless you're a team that can zip off like 10 or 12 in a row. It's hard to dig your way out of holes. And I would also speak just from a confidence standpoint. I think it's important to build confidence for a team that hasn't had enough success. And even though this is a totally new team, there's enough players that have been here that I think that confidence matters. And so, last year, I think we were 2-2 to start, and we got hit by COVID there a little bit. We spiraled for about 8 games, and we just could never dig our way out. And we weren't a team last year that could zip off 12 in a row. So I think certainly, I look at the season through 5-game segments, and this segment's critically important. And from a point standpoint and keeping yourself in the mix with teams, and probably just importantly from a confidence standpoint.
Perfect. That's all I need. Thanks.
Yeah.
Nick Katsanika.
Hey, Jeff, you mentioned zone time 45%. Are you basing that on the tracking data and the Coaching Insights app? Just curious.
We take data in and put it into our own formulas, Nick. So we don't necessarily look at any stats that are directly through the insight. All that data we take in, both the player tracking, and then we also have a third-party group that we take data in, and then we move it into our own analytics models.
Can you, I don't know, like how far you'll go into it. I'm just curious, like when you say 45%, are you using time or shot attempts, or like how are you
shot attempts? Time in each other's zone. Yep. Time in each other's zone. Yeah. Shot attempts to me is not a big factor in anything, to be honest. Now, again, I do think obviously zone time, there's probably a correlation between zone time and shot attempts. I get that, but I'd rather look directly at the zone time than just the shot attempts.
So are you tracking it separately? So you have like the NHL's tracking data, and then you have your third party does it separately?
Again, we would use both of those data inputs for different models, depending what we're talking about. If we're just talking about zone time, I would say that we use the data that we're getting through the NHL and again, put it into any of our own models. We do a percentage between O zone and D zone and work off that. So yes. So it's both of those data entries that we then take in and then move into our own models.
So if you'll bear with me, one more nerdy question. So like a grade A scoring chance, like it used to be pretty, subjective, right? Like you know when you see it. Now, like on the Coaching Insights app, you can draw a home plate area and customize it how you want. And maybe there's a shot attempt in that box and it's more objective. Do you still do it in a subjective way? Like how do you define a grade A scoring chance?
Yeah, so I would tell you, so we have two different things available to us in regarding scoring chances, and we look at both and compare. Number one, we do it subjectively as a coaching staff, and we have the same guy grade every night. Part of that process is defining, through statistical analysis that we've done previous to now, what we have as parameters that would constitute a grade A. And one of those parameters would be shot location. And to what you're referring to with the home plate area, although for us, it's not a home plate, it's the areas where the shooting percentages are the greatest. And there's two areas within that. I think some use inner slot and outer slot, whatever. So that's one is shot location. Other factors that we take into it when we're doing it subjectively is how the distance the goalie has to move to make the save. So if it's a stick handle shot, that's a way, I don't care where the shot's coming from, that's a way less difficult save than if the pass goes and he's got to move wherever that pass is from. The more the goalie has to move, the greater the likelihood of the puck going in. The location of players and the pressure of the player around him are part of our factors subjectively. Those are also, by the way, factors that our model takes into objectively. And so we also have scoring chances that are available to us through our own analytics objectively that basically, again, we've written algorithms that take a lot of those factors into play. This will all get improved greatly as we are able to really harness the puck tracking and the player tracking. And the reason I say is we are able to harness it and why it's not to the level yet that it's going to be is because we didn't have puck tracking the whole season last year. And we didn't really have puck tracking enough through the preseason to be able to yet put that into the model and say this is what it is. Because when you look at the objective scoring chances, and the reason we still do them subjectively is I have to pull players in and I have to justify that that's a chance against. And a lot of times a shot, something that's considered a shot for, it could be going in at, for lack of a better term, 1 mile an hour as opposed to 80 miles an hour. And that's a huge difference. If a puck flubs in, it's not really a scoring chance. If a puck's fired in, it's way more of a scoring chance. So we're working through all that. In the meantime, we do both subjectively and objectively. I'd love to get to where scoring chances are done purely objectively off our models, but the player and puck tracking has to get better, or we have to learn to harness it better for us to do that.